Our guest, Dr. Jamie Turndorf, is author of the #1 international bestseller, Love Never Dies: How to Reconnect and Make Peace with the Deceased. For nearly 30 years, Dr. Jamie was married to the love of her life, Emile Jean Pin, world-renowned former Jesuit priest and Vatican professor. And her eternal love story for the ages is going to touch your heart. So I'm going to stop talking and allow Dr. Jamie to tell you all about it. Welcome her with a warm welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Hi. Hello. I'm so happy to be here with you all. So, oh no, I have a frog in my throat. I was thinking, how come women get their periods on their wedding nights and public speakers always get frogs in their throat the day they're speaking? These are the spiritual questions I ponder. So, I'm going to take you on the Love Never Dies journey with me, and it's in 3 parts. So the first part begins with my own eternal love story. When I was a very young girl, I had a detailed premonition of the man that I was going to marry. I saw his face, I saw his body, and so I decided, you know what, I'm not going to date. I'm just going to wait for him to appear. A very medieval concept in the 70s. And so I waited until the first day of my freshman year at Vassar College. I'd been shut out of all intro sociology, and I really wanted to take sociology. So I asked the secretary of the department, Judy Cadwallader, what can I do? She says, go ask the department chair, Jean Pin. Well, the minute I stepped into that man's office, I had the first and only out-of-body experience of my life. I literally felt my soul shooting at high speed through a tunnel to the end of my life. And when I shot back into my body, I received the message, remember, every aspect of this meeting, he's going to be everything to you one day. And then I forgot all about it. A normal first day for a freshman at Vassar. And then I found out soon after meeting him that Jean had been, for most of his life, one of the most famous Jesuit priests in history. He had taught at the Vatican, and he founded a movement called Liberation Theology, designed to fight church oppression from within. And he actually launched to international fame when he publicly opposed the Pope and the Catholic Church as they were trying to block the legalization of divorce in Italy. And he told me years later he was a radical feminist Jesuit priest. And he didn't want to see women trapped in marriages where they were being abused. So he fought on the grounds of religious freedom. The church should butt out of the private sector. And he won. He got the divorce bill passed, changed the course of Italian history, and soon after the Pope granted him the dispensation of his vows so that he wouldn't be excommunicated, and he was recruited by Vassar College to serve as the chair of the Department of Sociology. And he had been there for about 4 years on the day of our fated meeting. Now I have to say, as an aside, my background was completely different from Jean's. I was raised by 2 devoutly atheist Jewish parents. The only religion my parents practiced was religiously hating each other's guts. And mine. I talk about that in Love Never Dies. So I never went to church or synagogue, never discussed religion, not with Jean at least when he lived in a body. Now, 4 years after our fated meeting, I needed help with the statistical portion of my thesis, and I had heard that among other things, Jean had been a prominent statistician, having founded the Vatican's first and only social research center. Even though he wasn't my advisor, I asked him if he would help me with my statistics, and he cheerfully gave me his time, and within a couple of weeks, we just knew we were crazy for each other. We were twins separated at birth. We were soulmates. And from that moment on, for the next 27 years, I know, I don't look that old. For the next 27 years, we were inseparable. We wrote books together, we restored houses together, we rejoiced in every moment that we spent together. Now, in the last year of his bodily life, we both started having separate premonitions that he was going to die of an accident. We just didn't know when or where this was going to happen. On the day we were set to leave for our final vacation in Italy, lightning struck our rose arbor and destroyed it. And then I looked out the window and I saw 40 huge black crows. I thought, this is not good. We go to Italy all the same. And one day while we're sitting on the beach, Jean's hand, his left hand, was up over his head as if to block the rays of the sun. The next thing I know, a bee swoops down and stings his left hand at the exact location of Christ's stigmata. And now I watch my beloved suffocate to death in front of my eyes. I tried to describe in Love Never Dies the experience of having him ripped from me in this way. I go back to the hotel room. I am hysterical. I collapsed on the bed. I'm shaking. I'm trembling. I'm crying hysterically. And the next thing I know, I feel that man's hand stroke the entire length of my spine. I sit bolt upright. I look over my shoulder. I don't see anything. But he was with me. And he has been with me from that moment ever since. And his astonishing manifestations to this day, often in front of witnesses, have proven to me we don't die. And therefore, our relationships are not meant to end with bodily death. And so, I've created my groundbreaking new trans-dimensional grief therapy method that totally diverges from the Western approach to grief, which is grieve, let go, and move on and do it in 6 months, or else we're going to give you psychiatric labels, we're going to shove pills down your throat. It's an abomination, and the Western approach leaves the bereaved at an even greater loss. So my method shows you how to say hello, not goodbye, to your loved ones in spirit, and how to do it without a medium, a channeler, or a psychic. And then there's just one more thing. As a shrink, I know millions of people throughout the world harbor unfinished business with those in spirit. And once again, Western grief therapy offers us no way of working it out with somebody in spirit. So my method shows you not only how to say hello and reconnect, but also how to make peace with those in spirit. So I'm just going to give you a couple of the outlandish examples that Jean has brought me, and then we'll go on from there to help you reconnect, okay? So the first example I'm going to share, this is from part 1 of Love Never Dies. It's my first night back from Italy, and I'm alone in the bed for the first time in nearly 30 years, and suddenly I hear Jean starting to speak to me, and he's quoting a passage that I do not recognize. I'll come back to that in a minute, so make a mental bookmark. So the next morning I go down into the kitchen, and I hear Jean speaking to me. And he's implanting this thought in my head, Jamie, open the back door to the garden. So I open it, and I open the door, and there is a tiny little chipmunk seated right on the stoop. And the chipmunk doesn't run away, as chipmunks will when your toes are touching them. He's in a trance, clearly. His eyes are nearly closed, and the next thing I know, I see this chipmunk begin to choke and gasp and retch, and then he starts ripping at his little face with his little hands, mimicking the way my husband was ripping at the oxygen mask because the air wasn't getting into his lungs. And of course, for 20 minutes, tears are pouring down my cheeks as I watch the chipmunk in this mimicking of my husband's bodily departure. And after 20 minutes, I see that chipmunk visibly cough up a wonk of mucus, and he's in peace. And I knew, even in my befuddled, grief-stricken state, my husband was speaking to me through this chipmunk. Now, I'm just going to give one more example, and it's a sort of synchronistic string of a couple of things. Early in my bereavement, I did a lot of crying. It was kind of a hobby. And one day, I was on the closet floor crying, and I'm thinking, I have to call my friend Anne. No, don't bother her. It's the middle of her workday. Oh, you have to talk to her. After, I don't know, 25 minutes of weeping, in the distance, I hear my phone ringing. I pull myself up, I run to the phone, and I look on the caller ID, and it's Anne. I pick it up. She says, Janie, did you just call me? And I said, no, Anne, but I was saying I have to talk to you. She said, Janie, my phone rang, and your name and number appeared on my caller ID. So we realized Jean knew I was wanting to call her. He called her for me. So a year later, I have a bad chest cough. I cannot breathe. And I said, Jean, I'm so scared. I think I'm going to suffocate the way you did. Please prove to me you're here with me now. Please do do that caller ID phone trick. Do it right now with my housekeeper, Donna. So 2 seconds later, the phone rings. It's Donna. She says, Jamie, did you just call? I said, no, Donna. But then I tell her, she said, my phone rang and your name and number appeared on the caller ID. Okay, so now I'm in a writer's group and I tell all the stories of Jean's manifestations. This is before I had written Love Never Dies. And I tell all the stories of the caller ID phone manifestations. And the head of the writers group, Gabe Davis, a devout Jewish atheist, says to me, I would like to see evidence of your phone having been manipulated and that the outgoing call shows up in the call log even though you didn't use the phone. I forget the challenge altogether. A month later, I'm driving behind Gabe and his wife Robin to meet them for dinner when I suddenly feel that tidal wave of love again. I look at the clock on my dashboard, 4:58 is the time. I get to the restaurant, I open the door, and Gabe stampedes me. I said, what is it, Gabe? He said, you won't believe what happened. I said, what happened? He said, at 4:58, my cell phone rang. He said, I picked it up, and your name and number appeared on the caller ID. He said, I answered the phone, and a man's voice said, is Jamie there? Is Jamie there? He said it was not a real call. The voice had an accent. Well, Jean was French, and he said the accented voice prolonged the syllable. There, well, Jean didn't do that. He said it never clicked off, it just faded away. He said, go get your phone, see if it dialed me. So I dig into my purse. I hadn't used it all day. 4:58, my call log shows that my phone dialed Gabe. So there are many, many other examples in part one of Love Never Dies, but what is the point of all these over-the-top manifestations? Jean said this to me right after he left his body. Jamie, let our love shine like a torch that lights the path for others. In other words, all these manifestations are not just meant for me, they're meant for you. To let you know that your loved ones are here with you too. They're just waiting for you to open the door of your heart and let them back in. So that's where we switch now to the part two of the Love Never Dies journey. I begin to help you learn how to do this. So the first order of business is we have to overcome the false beliefs and the false religious teachings that block most people from reconnecting with loved ones in spirit. The first one that I discovered, because I was an open book, I finally heard them all, and I cataloged them in part two. The first one that I'm going to talk about is oh, it's not possible to reconnect with your loved ones in spirit. You shouldn't do it even if it's possible. You can't, whatever. Now, how did I discover that this is not correct? Remember I said the first night back in Italy, back from Italy, John was quoting something to me? Okay, so here's where this comes in. I went to see Jean's priest, and I said to him the day before the funeral, which was 10 years ago, yesterday, how fitting that I would be with you. I went to the priest, and I said, my husband's talking to me, and he's quoting a passage. I have no idea what it is. The priest looked at me like, yo, this babe has lost her marbles. And then I tell him what Jean said, and he goes white. He crosses himself, and he says, dear God, Jamie, at first I did not believe that Jean is speaking to you, but I do now. And then he told me, you are quoting an obscure biblical passage from the Communion of Saints. Like I would have known, I never read the Bible, Jean and I didn't discuss religion. What's the Communion of Saints? It took me a year to understand why Jean chose to quote that and only that passage to me. Remember, he was a religious pioneer in life. He continues to be in the afterlife. I discovered that the Communion of Saints says that our loved ones in spirit are one with or in communion with God and the saints. And since the Bible tells us we're supposed to stay in communion and communication with God and the saints, this means that the Bible is also telling us we are supposed to stay in communion and communication with our loved ones in spirit because they are one with God and the saints. So Jean's point to all of us is what we've been told about the afterlife is dead wrong. If you'll pardon my Heaven is a state, not a place. Heaven is all around us. Heaven is here and now. This means we're supposed to reconnect with our loved ones in spirit now. There are many other misconceptions. I wish I could share them all with you. I'll just kind of tick them all. I discuss them all, like a big misconception. People think, well, if you reconnect, you can't move on with your life. Quite the opposite. When we don't reconnect, we're marinating in misery. Are we in our lives when we're marinating in misery? Are we present to others? No. But when we reconnect, we instantly transform our grief to joy, and now we are fully alive in the moment and present. And then there's another really good one about, well, you'll prevent them from moving on. Where are they going? They keep going. Jean said, what else is there for me to do? It's my full-time occupation to love you. That's my job. That's what all I hear this over and over again from the loved ones of my patients, and Hay House Radio calls. Well, another one is, well, if they're reincarnated, then they're gone. Well, this one's not true either. I could go on and on and on. So part 2 of Love Never Dies talks about all the misconceptions. We have to ditch them because these misconceptions block our receptivity. Now in part 2 of Love Never Dies, I talk about the latest science, how we know spirit communication is possible. Well, I'll just summarize it in this way. You know, Einstein said, energy cannot be destroyed. We've all heard this, right? So when we shed the turtle shell of our physical body, the energy of our soul essence goes where? Well, the quantum physicists say that 95% of our universe is comprised of dark matter or dark energy, just because it doesn't reflect light. We know this. Our loved ones in spirit, their soul essence goes into the dark matter. So that when Jean said to me, Janie, death is an illusion. There's a very thin veil between the realm where you are and the realm where I am. The veil is thinner than you can ever imagine. I'm standing right here. He wasn't kidding. He was just saying, I'm in the dark matter. That's where all your loved ones are. So essentially, what we're talking about here, to demystify this, is sending and receiving energetic communication to and from the dark matter. Now, we all energetically communicate every day. I heard someone say, listen, smile at other people, they'll smile back. Well, have you ever noticed that when you park at a light and you look over at the driver in the neighboring car, doesn't that driver always look back at you? Because the driver senses the energetic frequency of your gaze. How do twins know that the other's in trouble when they live on opposite ends of the world? Energetic frequencies. Close couples, how do they know? Like my husband always knew when my period was coming and would come home with tampons, not because I was a biatch, no, it's not that. He just knew. So, the energetic communication. So, what I show you how to do is learn how to tune to the spirit channel in your brain so that you perfect the ability to send and receive energetic communications. So now we're moving into part 3 of the Love Never Dies journey. How can you open up your receivers and all your channels so that you are a perfect vessel for sending and receiving communication with spirit? The first step is what I call creating a state of receptivity. One of the first things Jean said to me when he left his body was, Janie, the noise of the day drowns me out. Anytime you want to hear me, come to the bed, be still and quiet, and you will hear me. So I show you in part 3 of Love Never Dies how to quiet yourself down. And I'm not saying you have to convert your condo into a convent. This is not what I'm saying. But we need to create pockets of peace moments where we're just still and quiet. I show you how to breathe. I gave you some breathing exercises that allow spirit to enter us. Then I show you also how to titrate your emotions, because when we're in early phases of grief, we're very upset. And intense emotions block the sending and receiving of energetic signals. So I show you how to not be too upset, how to give yourself what I call a moonstruck moment. Remember that in the movie? Snap out of it. And then, last but not least, I show you how to open your 5 senses, because we are a receiver. And the more open our senses are, the better we're going to be able to send and receive. This afternoon, I'm going to be doing a Love Never Dies workshop, and we'll be doing some of these receptivity exercises. So essentially, when our receiver is turned on, our sight, our smell, our taste, we are now primed to receive all the communications and signs that are being sent to us all the time. Now, speaking of signs, this is the next step, recognizing the signs. So many people call me on Hay House Radio and they say, Janie, I hate you, I'm mad at you, I don't get signs. Then when they read this chapter, where I itemize all the signs, they say, oh, I get it. They get some breathing exercises that allow spirit to enter us. Then I show you how to not be too upset, how to give yourself what I call a moonstruck moment. Remember that in the movie? Snap out of it. And then, last but not least, I show you how to open your 5 senses. So
They say, oh, this happened, that happened, and this happened. For many of us, we're missing the signs of spirit presence in our lives. We're just not even noticing. And it's all the time. Because remember, spirits are pure energy, so they influence the material world in infinite ways. They make animals behave oddly. They produce odd sounds, footsteps, chills, goose flesh, temperature changes, drafts. They love symbolic communication, rainbows, butterflies. They love to drop coins on you that were minted on a year that was special to you. Okay, now here's where communicating with spirit is taking a whole new turn. The CEO of Hay House said, what you do next, we've never seen anything like this before at Hay House. And that's wild because Hay House is the woo-woo publisher. And okay, so this is weird where I go, so stay with me. I show you how you can dialogue back and forth with your loved ones in spirit with the help of open vessels, both human and animal, with the help of earthly props, which are generally electronic devices. Now let me give you an example of the difference between when spirit drops a static sign on us, which is lovely, versus how we can communicate back and forth with the help of signs and earthly props and open vessels. Do you want me to give you an example? As long as I'm here, you know. So it was the anniversary week of Jean's bodily departure this past year. I go to the chiropractor's office, I'm alone in the office, and I say to the secretary, Teresa, listen, Jean's been dropping a lot of signs on me this week. And all of a sudden, I smell gardenias. The whole place smells like gardenias. That's the scent of sanctity. So suddenly, the secretary looks at me and she says, Jamie, I smell gardenias. I said, Teresa, that is fantastic. Jean is dropping a sign on both of us. So that's a static sign. People will get these signs a lot. Now I go home and I'm in my office with a patient named Regina who desperately needs to reconnect with her sister in spirit. I tell her the story about the gardenias. At that moment, I hear Jean speaking to me through mind melding or thought induction. And he says, but Jamie, I wish I could give you roses. With that, my patient Regina jumps up off the couch and says, Jamie, do you smell roses? Now, in that really elegant manifestation, Jean was dialoguing with me with the help of this human open vessel. He was saying, you heard me right, I want to give you roses, and I made her smell roses. So you see, she was involved in this communication and this dialogue. It was the anniversary, it was last year. So many things happen. I have losing my mind. I can never keep up with it. It's like every day. Last year, I did the Coast to Coast show. Love Never Dies sold out. It's an overnight bestseller. The next day, I get a phone call from a guy. He says, I got to talk to you. Your husband is burning up my brains with messages for you. Okay? I get on the phone, and this dude starts speaking to me in French and Italian, saying phrases to me that my husband used to say. Then he says to me, but Jamie, I'm a hillbilly. I don't know no Italian. Dude, I believe you. Your accent sucks. That was my husband communicating with me through this human open vessel. 2 days later, now here's an example of communicating through a human open vessel along with earthly props. He calls me up, he says, you better be sitting down now, because what I have to tell you is going to freak you out. You'll see. He says, I'm sitting at my desk. It's Valentine's Day. He said, my hands are in my lap when your husband says, send Jamie the photo of the peach-colored rose. Nobody in the world knows. Jean gave me not only roses every week, but they were peach-colored. So the guy says, with my hands in my lap, your husband takes over my computer and he posts a photo of a peach-colored rose. So he was communicating with me again using the earthly prop of the electronics. Now check this out. You go to loveneverdiesretreat.com. You will see on that page a video player. It's my first Love Never Dies retreat. We're going to be doing a partial retreat this afternoon. You will see in there, on film, my videographer caught my husband taking over my computer and posting a photo of the Eiffel Tower. I tell the whole story in Love Never Dies. You'll see the mouse is moving all by itself, and the live audience and the remote audience is all captured on film saying, what? And I swore too, so I asked my videographer to cut out the swear words. I hope it'll be out by the time you look at it. What? So anyway, now, Now, in addition to these forms of communication with open vessels and earthly props, there's one other thing and one other way I show you to communicate with spirit, and this I call dialoguing with the departed. Now, this is a direct conversation between you and spirit. And you can dialogue directly for any number of reasons. If someone was ripped from you due to sudden accidental death or illness, if you want to obtain guidance because our loved ones in spirit are now our spirit guides, and of course, if you have unfinished business. So what we do is I put you in a trance, and then we talk back and forth. You can record the conversation or write it, speak your part, speak the spirit's part, and you talk back and forth until you arrive at resolution. Now, here's the most exciting thing. Most of us think, well, you know, if you have unfinished business with someone in spirit and that person left his body and you didn't work it out, you're SOL. Turns out it's not. And they see all the ways they messed up with us. And that primes them to want to work it out with us. Also, when they are in spirit form, they need to work it out. What I discovered is that their spiritual development, their soul progression in spirit requires them to face what they've done wrong and work it out with us. So it's a win-win for us as well as for them. We need to heal and not carry the baggage. And this is what you've been talking about, the 12 powers, right? About order in your life and harmony. Well, this is a very profound way to create harmony because our life is not in order if we're not in harmony with our loved ones in spirit and our hated ones in spirit. So we dialogue back and forth and we heal our unfinished business. Now, I have a really neat story that I want to tell you. It was Good Friday, and Jean said, go to Lainey the bird lady. I didn't know her personally. She had helped us to try to save our little canary, Fluffy, unsuccessfully, and he said, go. I walk into her studio, and as I walk in, there's a cage right here with a little Gouldian finch, all slumped over and puffed up. And she says, by nightfall, this finch will be dead. It hasn't eaten in 2 days. So I said, can I try to help this little bird? She says, okay. So I go over to the cage, I put my cheek against the bar. Now, normally a bird would freak and fly away. The bird comes closer. And now I proceed to energetically communicate with the bird. Same way we communicate with spirit, we can energetically communicate with beings on the earth plane. And I say out loud so Lainey will hear, I want you to go down to your seed bowl and I want you to start eating immediately. The bird goes down, starts eating, scarfing up seeds. The more it eats, the stronger it gets. It starts to flip and chirp. With that, I'm aware of a presence in the room. Feels like a mother energy, but I don't know who's in spirit and who isn't. So I say to Lainey, this spirit presence has a message for you. And it says, I'm sorry I was such a weakling and I didn't protect you from him. Lainey bursts into tears. She says, that's my mother. She always called herself a weakling. Now I look at the bird, and the bird's looking sick again. And it's sort of craning its neck up, and I'm aware there's another presence that's bothering the bird. And it's her father. He starts to say to me, please tell her I know she's still afraid of me because I molested her sexually. Please tell her she doesn't need to be afraid of me anymore and that I want her, I am begging her to confront me because I can't evolve until she does and I'm not going to be in peace till I know she's created this resolution. So I begin to help her dialogue with him. And by the time I leave, she was in peace with her father and the bird survived. So that's what my patients said to me. Very often they'll say, I wish my mother would hurry up and die so we can work this out. Now, this is my final point. We all know why we're put here on the earth plane. This is our love lab. We're here for only one reason, to perfect our ability to love ourselves and to love others. Now, I am living proof of the challenge. How do you love yourself well enough when you were raised by abusive parents? My parents beat me physically, they beat me verbally, and even though I spent almost 30 years with Jean, who adored me, deep inside, I did not love myself the way I should. And nothing helped. After Jean left his body, I go to my professional group in the city, and I'm crying, and I'm saying, I have to to do something about this. The voices of my parents, they're tearing me down, they're putting me down, they're buzzing like bees in my head. No matter how successful I am, I'm miserable. And all the shrinks in my group, famous shrinks, said, well, just tell them to shut the hell up and tell them to drop dead, let our voices outshout them. This never worked for me, never worked for my patients. I come home, I fall to my knees, and I say to Jean, I'm begging you, please help me. And he suddenly appears to me as the embodiment of love. His face and body is surrounded in golden light. He takes my face in his hands and he turns me toward him in the light. And he says to me, Jamie, listen, listen, listen to me. Did you hear that? Let my love for you fully enter you. And in that moment, a miracle happened. I felt all the love of the universe, all the love that that man holds for me, penetrating every cell of my body. And I was filled with so much light and love. And I realized that I had to wait until he was out of his body in order to heal. Because now he's freed from the physical vessel of his body, his soul can enter me unimpeded. And this is ultimately your fast track to self-love, reconnecting to your loved ones in spirit. Let them fill every corner of your soul, mind, body, spirit, emotion. Let them heal you. Let them fill your heart to overflowing. And now your heart is an overflowing well you can bring to the world. And that's Love Never Dies. Someone to come up in the audience if you wish to do dialogue. I will help you. This is what we're going to do this afternoon in the workshop. Besides the receptivity exercises, we'll be doing dialoguing for whatever purpose you need. Guidance, heal unfinished business. Anybody, if you'd like to come up and, well, that was quick. We never do the dialoguing until we're in a meditative state. So I'm going to invite all of you to join with me in the meditation, okay? And we'll just see where we go. All right? Close your eyes, everyone. I know. I was told that you were. So that's okay. Close your eyes, everyone. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. In through your nose. And out through your mouth. A third breath in through your nose. And out through your mouth. And now, on the next inhalation, I want you to allow the warm golden light of spirit to enter through your crown chakra, the energy center at the top of your head. And as you exhale, feel that warm golden light washing over your body and trading tension for peace. The warm golden light washes down over your head and your face. Your throat and your neck. Down your chest and your upper back. And down your arms. And out your fingers. And the warm golden light is now moving down your stomach and your mid-back. Your groin and your low back. Front of your legs, back of your legs. And down your knees, shins, calves, ankles, feet, and toes. If you sense any area of the body resisting the flow, just let your inhaling breath bring that warm golden light into that area, and let Let your exhaling breath flush out the tension. See that breath as having eyes that have the power to suck out any tension in your body and flush it out. Your eyes of the breath can go down as far as your cells, your DNA, your organ, your blood. Feel yourself sinking deeper and deeper into the chair, sinking deeper and deeper as if you're in a well bucket. You drop lower and lower into the well shaft, or in an elevator, dropping lower and lower. Now, Linda, take as much time as you need to feel fully relaxed. And when you do, just say, okay. All right, now let's imagine we are all together as one family, strolling together along the bank of the stream. The sky is a perfect blue dome. Songbirds and butterflies accompany us on the stroll. And a gentle breeze ruffles the lush emerald grass. And in the distance we see a footbridge. And we effortlessly teleport over that footbridge. And we land on the near shore of my lake. We look upon its surface, it's smooth as glass. It shimmers like liquid silver. And on the far shore we see all of our loved ones standing and waiting for us, their arms outstretched, their palms turned upward. And now, Linda, we all teleport together over the lake. I want you to take a deep breath in. I want you to make a first statement out loud to the person you wish to speak with. Call the person by name and make a statement that's from the heart, whatever feeling you're feeling. Put it into words.
Mark, I miss you.
Take a deep breath in. Take a deep breath in. Now I want you to see if you can sense what Mark is telling you. It could be a word, it could be a sentence, a physical sensation, a picture. Exactly, honey. Oh, honey. And what's the rest of that sentence? Oh, honey. Don't be sad. I'm here. I'm always here, and when you're missing me, you're focusing on the hole in the donut. Instead of the whole donut, my physical presence is not here, but I'm here in every other way. Take a breath in and see if you can feel him. Take a breath in and see if you can feel what he's telling you he's here. Your grief is so deep, and you're so focused on the missing of his physical body, that you are blocking yourself from feeling his presence now, right? But he is telling you, you are not taking me in now. You're stuck in the vanilla ice cream syndrome. That is, we want chocolate ice cream, that's our favorite, that's the physical embodiment. He's in vanilla. He's willing to be with you in every way but the chocolate. Maybe it's not your favorite, but if you can stop focusing, like lift the needle off the record, stop focusing on the I miss you, and start focusing on allowing him to come through to you as he is. Try again. Take a breath in. Better. What did you feel that time?
I started feeling so like,
Right. Keep breathing and allowing the hug to come into you. He's also giving you a mental picture. What do you see? Yes. What else? Yeah. His arms, very strong arms. He wants you to remember how strong his arms are. These aren't weak arms. Ah, see what you just did? You went back to the sad breathing place. Now you see, this is like a discipline to take a horse that's steering off the trail, back onto the trail, back into the now with him in spirit. For a brief moment you had relief, then you started to go back off the trail into the crying over the middle. Back on the trail. Okay? He was playful with you, right? He's showing that he likes to tousle your hair. Like, you know what I mean? Will you do that? Did he do that to you?
I remember that. It's just specific.
He's treating
I remember his hugs were like, they were like,
the universe. Again, take a breath in. You don't breathe also. Your breath is blocked. You can breathe, right? In your heart. This was the image that he wanted to give you. He literally has energetically cloned his soul essence in your heart. He wants you to put your hand on your heart. Breathe in. Breathe in. His soul energy is right there. His love for you is right there. Now, tell him how you feel. You feel that one with him now? So now, how's your sadness? It's not there. There you have it. When you reconnect, your sadness vaporizes and it's replaced by love. Anytime you feel sad, it is a sign that you have disconnected from him. Repeat this exercise and bring him back. Okay? Thank you very much. I'll be at my table after. They're going to put me at a table. And you want to ask me more about the workshop this afternoon, or I'll be there signing books. It's lovely being with you.